Hello, hello, hello. This is Manchester Library and I am Dom, or at least I was when I last checked. I'm a poet. I write poems, I write stories, and I'm really thrilled to be sharing some with you. Well, I'm going to be talking about a book I really enjoyed reading this week. In just a moment. If you caught me last time, you would have heard me reading a bit from The Dragon Who Hates Poetry. But the first book in the Dommy B series, my series of books with the magnificent Flapjack Press, was this one, Spark the Goblin Wizard. This is the first in the series. There's a lovely little photo of me in there with my thumbs up. Whee! And the opening poem of this book, Spark the Goblin Wizard, asks a lot of questions. It goes exactly like this. Do you know the songs of the woods, of werewolves and girls in red hoods, of gingerbread homes, of fairies and gnomes? Do you know the songs of the woods? Do you know who live underground and hide where they cannot be found? Beneath the tree roots, who feast on the fruits? Do you know who live underground? Have you seen a goblin before? Come closer and I'll tell you more. They live out of sight. They roam round at night. Have you seen a goblin before? For this is my goblin song. They are tiny but clever and strong. So think what might be living under a tree. This is my goblin song. And so begins this book. I've been reading more than just my own books. Can you believe that? Can you believe that I'm reading by someone else? Of course I am. I love reading, and I've been reading this book. I wonder if you have ever read this book, the book The Twits by Roald Dahl. Now, this is a book I've read before. This is a book which I remember reading when I was very, very young, and I loved it so much. The inspiration, I know, for The Twits came from Roald Dahl's bemusement at men choosing to grow beards. Now, it was a different age back then. Beards are pretty common in men nowadays. In fact, I reckon pretty much all of my mates have got beards. It's so common, and it's interesting for Roald Dahl. It was a strange sight. Fashions come and go, and he hated beards, and he wrote a big old description in the book about how disgusting he thought beards were, and I encourage you to read the whole book, but that particular excerpt is really silly and really funny. Now, when I was writing Spark the Goblin Wizard, I remembered how much I enjoyed that bit, and I write a little bit about the wisdom of goblins. So I kind of, inspired by Roald Dahl being disgusted at beards, I use a similar kind of description, but to praise the goblins. Here's how I describe the goblins in my book. You can tell how important a goblin is just by looking at that goblin. The more earwax a goblin has drooling out its ears, the more important that goblin is. If you smell a goblin's earwax, and that goblin's earwax smells like sweaty, mouldy, stinky old cheese that has been sat on by a skunk for 3.5 years. Only the most important goblins smell like that. What can I say? I really love disgusting descriptions. I thought it would be an interesting way of how can we always be different from what's gone before, rather than using the disgusting thing to say, oh, this is a bad thing. I thought, well, goblins are probably pretty different from people, and maybe what we find disgusting, they might find delightful. So I had great fun writing that little old bit of the book. Another fantastic bit of Roald Dahl's The Twit is the end. Now, shh, I won't give a spoiler. I won't give a spoiler for what happens, but it's very, 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 very imaginative. There are some other characters who confront the Twits for some mean old things that they've done before, and what happens at the end is unforgettable. That's my book of the week. That's what I proper recommend to you. So I'm going to round off with, I've talked a lot about goblins in general, but what about our title character, Spark the Goblin Wizard? Well, he has a poem all of his own in this book. So I'm going to round off this video by celebrating our man Spark. His poem goes exactly like this. Spark the Goblin Wizard looks like a hairy lizard. This furry beast excels at casting magic spells. He can turn the bogies up his nose into some pink ribbons and bows. He'll make a beautiful high-heeled shoe out of a pile of donkey poo. He'll make meringues with whipped cream toppings out of fox and rabbit droppings. Spark the Goblin Wizard is mighty as a blizzard and sharp as a bee sting. He can transform anything. But there's one thing goblins fear. Goblins won't go near people. You or me. I know that you won't see in a city or a park in the day or after dark this goblin make his mark. The Goblin Wizard, Spark! And if you want to know more about Spark the Goblin Wizard, well, I might do a little bit more from the book in a future video. I've been Dom, so I hope you've enjoyed listening as much as I've enjoyed performing. Have a great week and get yourself reading. Have fun. Nice one.